Welcome everyone to Enigma's Analysis. I'm your host, Mr. Enigma, and today we've got a division that has been boring for the last 10 years, but no longer. The AFC East. In fact, everyone was kind of assuming that the New England Patriots, for the first time in forever, were going to lose the division, but now they have Cam Newton, so a lot of people think they're still going to win. Let's find out. It's the forever inoffensive Buffalo Bills. Seriously, unless you're a division rival, how can you hate the Buffalo Bills? They're so benign. I mean, what does the average person even know about Buffalo anyway? They've got the Bills and Sabres, they really do great things with chicken wings, and it's cold. In fact, I adamantly propose that the Bills change their name to the Buffalo Wings. The logo practically creates itself. Seriously, imagine how their popularity would soar if their team name was the Buffalo Wings. It would help the franchise be remembered for something other than losing 4 Super Bowls in a row thanks to a missed field goal. Anyway, the Bills made the playoffs last year, largely on the back of their number 2 scoring defense in the league and some good coaching from Sean McDermott. Let's look at the offense first. Their good offensive line from last year returns in full this season. It's all the same starters, and for Buffalo, that's a very good thing. Continuity. They've got a running back pairing of Devin Singletary and a third-round rookie, which is not remarkable, but it's fine. Don't be fooled by them being 4th in the league in rushing last year. A lot of that was Josh Allen's contributions. They had a huge offseason acquisition in getting Stephon Diggs from the Minnesota Vikings, who will now be their number 1 receiver, which is kind of impressive considering that John Brown last year had over 1,000 yards. That means he's a number 2 receiver who's had a 1,000-yard season. And then Cole Beasley's a good slot guy. It's a strong receiving core now. Really strong. At tight end, they're really optimistic about this guy Dawson Knox, who showed some stuff last year. Behind him, Tyler Kroft could be good, but he needs to stay healthy. Then there's the quarterback, Josh Allen. I don't love him, but I also don't think he's terrible. He can run, which helps a lot. I don't think he's the most accurate passer. But for the most part, the Bills team is so good that it only becomes an issue against really, really good teams or, in the playoffs where you only face really good teams. But Allen is like an ingredient you don't love on an otherwise awesome sandwich. Maybe you don't love tomatoes, but if the sandwich is really good, you can take tomatoes. It's fine. On defense, they did lose Jordan Phillips and Shaq Lawson on the D-line, which definitely hurts. Meanwhile, Jerry Hughes needs to step it up a bit. But Star Lotulelei and rookie Ed Oliver got better as the season progressed, ending on a high note. And they've also got tons of depth at this position, including a second-round draft pick from this year. I suspect their D-line will be just fine. From their linebacking core, they lost Lorenzo Alexander. A.J. Klein from the Panthers will have to fill in his shoes, which you could do worse. But the young studs from last year, Tremaine Edmonds and Matt Milano, are still there. And then their excellent secondary, Micah Hyde and Jordan Poyer at safety, Tre'Davious White at cornerback. Admittedly, Levi Wallace could be a little bit better at cornerback number 2, but I'll be curious to see if they can do anything with Josh Norman, who they acquired in the offseason. So that's the Bills from top to bottom. It's pretty hard to find any real holes in their roster. Essentially, they're like a really good independent movie that has 90% on Rotten Tomatoes. It's full of quality performances from guys you've never heard of, but it ends up being a lot better than movies with much bigger names. So I got the Bills going 10-6 this year and losing out in the divisional round of the playoffs. Now, is that enough for them to win the division? Let's find out. Alright, the Miami Dolphins, who have built up a lot of goodwill in my book, and I imagine a lot of other football fans' books, by being expected to lose every single game. Yes, the Dolphins last year were expected to be the worst team since the 1979 Tampa Bay Buccaneers, but they went on to win 5 of their last 9 down the stretch, including over teams like the Patriots and the Eagles, and that was after they traded away almost every big-name player they had. All this suggests that head coach Brian Flores really knows what he's doing because he got his guys to fight hard when there was nothing for them to play for. So I think going into this season, we're all rooting for the Dolphins. Enjoy it while it lasts. All right, Dolphins. Nothing I love more than seeing a scrappy underdog finally find some success. Oh, screw the Dolphins. Miami. If I hear one more word about how great the Dolphins are, I swear I'm gonna... So as you would imagine with a team like this, the Dolphins had huge issues last season, but maybe first and foremost was their offensive line, pictured here. So wisely, it's been completely revamped this year. They have rookie tackles on either side, one a first-round pick, one a second-round. They got Eric Flowers from the Redskins, who had been a mess playing tackle for the Giants, but at left guard actually served himself quite well. Only their right guard remains the same. They got Ted Karras from the Patriots at center. It also helps that they have some pretty good depth on the interior. So their offensive line should at least be decent. It's a lot of young guys. They're going to take a while to get it figured out, but it's definitely going to be better than last season. season. Hopefully the Dolphins will actually have a running game this season. They have a nice little running back duo of Jordan Howard and Matt Breida. Mike Gesicki had a little bit of a breakout year at tight end and should get significantly better. Meanwhile, Durham Smythe is a good blocking tight end. Devontae Parker turned out to be an excellent number 1 receiver, and then Preston Williams is getting better at number 2. It gets pretty murky after that, but the positive is that Ryan Fitzpatrick's pretty good about spreading the ball around. Speaking of Fitzpatrick, he was the perfect guy to lead this ragtag group of underdogs last season. The only problem is that every time Fitzpatrick does something really, really well, he always follows it up with crap. So if he stumbles out of the gate this season, which I kind of suspect he will, they're likely to bring in Tua Tagovailoa, their first-round pick from this year. I expect Tua to be pretty darn good in the long term, but obviously bringing in any rookie quarterback comes with its own headaches. Defensively, the Dolphins were definitely nothing to write home about either. On the line, you had Christian Wilkins, who was good as a rookie, and he should get better. Davon Gadcho, I hope I'm saying that right. He was really good against the run, not so much against the pass. And Zach Sealer was a nice addition they got from the Ravens. In keeping with Brian Flores descending from the Belichick coaching tree, they got Kyle Van Noy from the Patriots, which is a nice grab at linebacker. Van Noy is one of those rare Patriots players with a skill set that doesn't limit him to just being good on the Patriots. Add him to the already pretty good Raekwon McMillan and Vince Beagle. You add Shaq Lawson to the front 7, and it's not looking too bad, although Jerome Baker and Avery Moss really need to play better. Then there's the secondary. The Dolphins might have the best group of corners in the league. You got Xavier Howard, who was injured for a lot of last year, and Byron Murphy, who they got from the Cowboys. On top of that, they spent a first-round pick on a corner. Eric Rowe stepped up in a big way at strong safety. Meanwhile, Bobby McCain was hurt at free safety. So you can imagine why their pass defense suffered so much last year and why it will be significantly better this season if a few guys can stay healthy. So the Dolphins actually have a strong roster all of a sudden. The problem's becoming that it's a very new roster. And if ever there was a bad season to have a lot of roster turnover, what with the state of training camp and preseason and all that, this is it. The schedule starts off a little tougher than it ends, so that's not great for a new team. So I'm predicting a lot of losses early on, more wins on the back end. I'm going to say the Dolphins go 8-8, but by season's end, they're going to look like a team that could do better than that. We'll see. There's a lot of variables in that one. I'm excited for the Dolphins. The New England Patriots. Now, like many football fans, I dislike the Patriots, but don't worry, I'm not going to show any bias. I mean, yeah, I dislike them, but they're just a football team. It's not like I spend a lot of time thinking about how much I hate the Patriots or anything.
Are you thinking about how much you hate the Patriots again?
No, I was thinking about boobs. Aside from stuff relating to their quarterback, the Patriots' big offseason news was that they got fined over $1 million and stripped of a third-round draft pick for recording the Cincinnati Bengals on the sidelines. Like anybody needed to record the Bengals last year to beat them. That's why Bill Belichick's such a good pro wrestling style villain. He's already the best, doesn't need to cheat, but does it anyway.
Be out there in a sec.
Whoa, would you look at this? I'm using all 7 letters and I got a double word score. Boy, how do you like that? That's some good luck there, huh? So this year we're going to find out what intangible effects Tom Brady had on the team. You know, his leadership skills, his football IQ, things like that. Were the Patriots' offensive lines always that great, or did Brady just do an excellent job of reading things pre-snap and getting rid of the ball quickly? On the other hand, what's going to happen now that the Patriots have a mobile quarterback? We'll get into that a little bit more later. Their offensive line remains completely intact other than the loss of the aforementioned Ted Karras. But they're replacing him with David Andrews, who was their center when they beat the Rams in the Super Bowl, so that's a good trade-off, right? The running back committee consists of the same group of guys they've had for a few years now. Rex Burkhead, Sony Michel, James White. But they were only 18th in the league in rushing last year, whereas in other years, their running game was their bread and butter. So that suggests that their group of running backs ebbs and flows with how good the rest of the team is. On paper, their group of receivers should be pretty good. Nikhil Harry was a first-round draft pick out of ASU last year, but was injured for the first half and didn't really come alive in the second half. You got Mohamed Sanu from the Falcons, but he's been kind of a disappointment for the Pats so far. And we all know Julian Edelman, who caught for over 1,000 yards last season. But there's definitely a narrative that the wide receivers for the Patriots were absolutely not getting it done last season. For one reason or another, Tom Brady was not clicking with them. Their tight ends are such a sorry group that the 2 third-round draft picks from this year are likely to end up at the top of the depth chart for that position. The Pats were first in scoring defense, and even though they did dominate for the majority of the season, By the end, teams were starting to figure them out. I mean, remember, the Miami Dolphins did beat them. So for better or worse, that defense is almost exactly the same this time around. Danny Shelton's out on the defensive line. Bo Allen is in. Typical Belichick shuffling around of personnel. It doesn't really seem to matter much year to year. The linebacking core did lose Kyle Van Noy and Jamie Collins. Not easy players to replace, but you got to figure that as long as they have Dante Hightower, that position group can't be too bad. And of course, their awesome secondary consisting of Stephon Gilmore, Patrick Chung, Devin McCourty, Jason McCourty is still intact, so they're going to be great again as always. So in all likelihood, they're the same team as last year, minus Tom Brady, with maybe a slight step down for the defense because Kyle Van Noy's not there, which means it really comes down to how good Cam Newton is. Now, when the Patriots were set to roll with Jarrett Stidham, everybody assumed they were going to lose the division. But now that they got Cam Newton, a lot of people are changing their stories to, oh man, here we go, the Patriots are going to win again like always. There's a few things to look at here. First off, if Bill Belichick and company really thought that Cam Newton was the key to solving all their problems, they wouldn't have waited until everyone else had a turn at rejecting him until he was worth $7.5 million for 1 year. As brilliant as Belichick is, he couldn't have known that nobody else would scoop up Newton. In other words, this was an easy, cheap deal that they went ahead and made just because it was available for them to do so. But more importantly, we don't know what Cam Newton is in 2020. Since his MVP season where the team went 15-1, he's had one winning season. Now, the argument there is, well, look at how well he was doing in the first half of the 2018 season before he got injured. I mean, he spent most of that time being injured. Okay, well, if that's your argument, then that means he spent most of the last 4 years being injured, which means I should absolutely expect 1 week of good play, followed by him messing up his shoulder in week 2, followed by a season of him being hobbled and thus not playing very well. I'm not saying Cam Newton stinks or that he can't be good with the Patriots. I'm just saying there's no way we know, and you can't base all your hopes for this team on the idea that Cam Newton is going to replace Tom Brady and be just as good or better. Yes, he's infinitely more athletic than Tom, but is he going to make all the nice pre-snap reads that Brady always does? Is he going to get rid of the ball quick enough? Is he going to fit in with the Patriots way and not bug the hell out of Bill Belichick with his prima donna mentality? Who knows? Think of it this way. Everybody loved the first 7 seasons of Game of Thrones, right? And then they hated season 8. It was terrible. Now imagine tomorrow that the producers of season 8 announced that there was going to be a new season of Game of Thrones and a major character was going to be played by Johnny Depp. Now your initial thoughts, just like with Cam Newton in his MVP season, would be the first Pirates of the Caribbean, Ed Wood, Finding Neverland, Edward Scissorhands, and you'd go, oh, hey, that could be really great. But then you'd have to remember that in the last 10 years, with the possible exception of Black Mass, Johnny Depp hasn't made a movie worth anything. It's been characterized by the sequels to the Pirates of the Caribbean, sequels to Fantastic Beasts, and whatever cash grab Tim Burton churned out because he needed a paycheck. So it would be lofty expectations to think that Johnny Depp's presence alone would restore Game of Thrones to its previous quality. You could hope for the best and that it's the right mix and that they recapture some of that old magic for both the actor and the show, but you'd have to reasonably expect that it probably wouldn't be the case. The same is true with Cam Newton and the Patriots. It's entirely possible he returns to MVP form, and under Bill Belichick, we find this magic chemistry that takes them all the way to the Super Bowl. But does that really seem that realistic? So I don't entirely know what to expect from the Patriots. I know Bill Belichick's not going to let them be a disastrous team, but I also thought they were going to be kind of a middle-of-the-road team before Cam Newton came along. Having him on the team doesn't raise my expectations too much. For now, I'm going to say the Patriots go 8-8. But I guess you can go ahead and save this video for 6 months from now when the Patriots have found a way to somehow win the division yet again and go to another Super Bowl. No, that's not going to happen. 8-8 for the Patriots. Lastly, the New York Jets. I like to think of the Jets because when I do, I think of Adam Gase making it abundantly obvious that he doesn't like Le'Veon Bell and didn't want him on the team. At long last, a head coach who openly talks crap about his players on TV.
Coach,
Yeah.
I wanted to ask you, what are your thoughts on Le'Veon Bell?
Le'Veon, I don't think he's a very good person. In fact, I'll just say it. I think he's a jerk.
Okay, and Sam Darnold?
Dumb as a bag of rocks.
Jamal Adams?
Smells bad. Also a bad tipper.
CJ Mosley?
He's ugly. Fat, too.
It's kind of amazing that the Jets went 7-9 last season, considering that Sam Darnold, their quarterback, had mononucleosis for 3 games, and when he was gone, their offense might as well not have even been there. The poor defense, injuries and all, had to try to carry the team. It didn't help at any point that their offensive line was trash. Seriously, how do you have Le'Veon Bell and still finish 31st in the league in rushing? Now, they definitely made efforts to improve the O-line, although I still don't think it's great, just slightly better. They grabbed Greg Van Roten at right guard, which is an improvement, but he's not remarkable. remarkable. Connor McGovern is a solid enough center. They drafted a rookie in the first round for left tackle. The left guard and right tackle positions are still being held down by below average players from last year. So yeah, not great. With the loss of Robbie Anderson, their wide receiver core is in sorry shape. Sam Darnold is almost at the point where he has nobody to throw to. Set, hut. Guys, can we get a little focus here? That ball was right to you. You didn't even turn to look at it. I foresee a lot of check down throws to Le'Veon Bell in his future. I mean, Josh Dodson, Jamison Crowder, and Rashad Perryman are fine, I guess. Chris Herndon is solid enough at tight end if he's healthy. Ryan Griffin's alright too. Defensively, they were surprisingly good at stopping the run. They were second in the league overall. That excellent D-line is almost exactly the same. Worth noting though that Henry Anderson didn't play well last season. Jordan Jenkins and Terrell Basham are okay at outside linebacker. CJ Mosley and Avery Williamson should be a deadly inside linebacker duo, but they were both injured last season. Brian Poole is surprisingly good at slot corner, and Pierre Desir, who they got from the Colts, was hobbled by injuries last season. In 2018, though, he was really good, so that could end up being a really good grab. Meanwhile, second-year corner Bleshuan Austin showed some promise. At free safety, Marcus May is decent enough, but you can imagine the drop-off that he'll experience if strong safety Jamal Adams goes to another team. Jamal Adams is arguably the best safety in the league, and he's been saying openly to the public that he wants to go to another team, even making a list of other teams where he'd be a good fit. If he does go to another team, I'd like to see the Texans, not the Cowboys, and God, not the Ravens. Please, not the Ravens. If I were a betting man, I think Adams is going to end up staying with the Jets, but I'm sure he's not going to be happy about it. So the New York Jets organization seems to be sloppy. They've got an offense with a good quarterback, but he doesn't have the right weapons or even a decent offensive line. And the defense is pretty good, but not great enough to carry a team. They're really going to have to hope they don't get bitten by the injury bug again this year, which, admittedly, you could say that for any team. But even if everyone stays reasonably healthy and Jamal Adams stays on the team, I would temper expectations for the Jets. I'm going to say that even without Sam Darnold getting mono for 3 games, the Jets only go 7-9. If they had an easier schedule, I might bump that up a game, but as is, 7-9 sounds about right. Okay, so that's my take on the AFC East for 2020. I've got the Buffalo Bills going 10-6 and winning the division. I've got the Miami Dolphins going 8-8. Got the New England Patriots going 8-8. Hopefully I won't eat crow on that in a few months. And the New York Jets going 7-9. Let me know in the comments section what you think. I'd really like to hear what everybody expects of Cam Newton and the Patriots. I'm also curious about people's expectations for the Dolphins. Are the Bills going to be as good or better than I think they're going to be? How about the Jets? Am I being too harsh on them? Like the video, subscribe to my channel. Next week I'm going to be redoing the AFC North preview video, and after that it'll be the AFC South. As always, thanks for watching. Enigma out.